So I've had a lot of people ask me about how I actually have my Unity project set up for the EEG animations for my ears and tail. So I figured I would do a little less scripted, a little bit more show and tell type of a video just to show off how I actually have all of this set up. I'm not going to be going into how to get the parameters into Unity from the headset because there are frankly much better videos out there for that. Same thing goes with actually creating the animation keyframes themselves. Again, much better videos out there. And this project is not a good example anyway. It's very old and very cluttered and very broken. And I made it a long time ago where I really didn't know what I was doing, so I've been working around a lot of early mistakes. Eventually, I will start this over, re-import assets, and actually clean it all up, but that's for another day. I have my parameters open here, so you can see what I'm pulling in as far as the NeuroFB. I've got relax left and right, and average position, which I'm not currently using, but I'll get into that in a moment. Focus right position and left position, as well as device connected. Under layers, I have a couple of different animators that are controlling, a couple of different animation layers that are controlling what I've got here. Right ear and left ear are identical. The only difference between them is the animations themselves, as well as, of course, the parameters that are being driven. One thing that I will say is do remember that the parameters that you are using, because it's the brain, are swapped. So left parameter will drive right animation and such. Just a thing to remember. It makes it a little easier when you're actually trying to train later. The transitions in and out of the ears are simply just, is the device connected or is the device not connected? If the device is connected, it's going to run my EEG. If it's not connected, it will default back into this just straight idle ear animation that I have running, which just gives a light twitch and pulls the ears forward. What that does is if the headset does disconnect, it will allow the tail and ears to move to a normal kind of neutral position instead of being stuck at a weird angle if I'm not noticing that the headset has rebooted for some reason. For the ears themselves, the blend tree is very simple. It's just a 1D with 3 different animations. I have forward, twist, and back. You'll notice that I'm not up against the stops on these. Two reasons for that. One, I find that I'm very rarely at 0 or 1 on any parameter, at least with my headset and how I have it set up. But also, it allows for a little bit less twitchy on either range. So if you are just sitting relaxing and not really concentrating on anything, or if you are concentrating on a conversation or concentrating on working on something, it makes the animations kind of lock in place and be a little bit less twitchy. Again, left and right are exactly the same, just with left or right. The tail EEG is a bit more complicated. So this is mostly complicated by the fact that I actually have 2 completely separate animations that I can toggle between. So same kind of idea. I have a transition in here for when the headset is connected, and then from there it splits out depending on if it's subdued or not, as far as the flag that I've set in my radial menu. You can switch between them while the animations are running, and then of course if the headset disconnects from either side here, it starts the whole process over again. Animation blend tree itself is a 2D freeform Cartesian with 5 separate animation keyframes. You can see that I have centered, down, up, right, and left. This just allows for a little bit smoother transition between the different directions to have that centered in there. I do highly recommend doing that. This will look a little different depending on how you have your tail set up and how your patterns work and exactly what you are looking for. So you see that I actually favor down a little bit. Again, this is just kind of the way that I have my animation set up. It also, in my experience, looks better. This is a very personalized thing, and I've seen a couple of different people with tail animation controllers, and honestly, each one was set up differently. So your mileage may vary. Play around with it. This took me a while to get right and get accurate, but it was a fun little challenge, so I do highly recommend going with that. Same thing here again, I'm also not up against the stops on any of them for the exact same reasons. I get the full use of the animation because I'm not missing a section that I'm not section of the parameter that I'm not utilizing. I do recommend staying not too far off the stops though, because you do lose resolution by doing this, and this is the reason why I'm using the full position parameter for the tail instead of just the 0 to 1, I'm using -1 to 1, again, just for a resolution type thing. The last thing is the eye animations, and this is the one that I'm not currently using. My original plan with this was simply to pull the relaxed average and basically open and close my eyes with a relaxed state. This looked really good when I was testing it, just kind of staring at a mirror. The nature of this kind of thing, though, is it's a bit quantum, and the whole concept of focusing on it changes the way it looks. So in practice and using it hanging out with friends and being in different game worlds and stuff like that, I ended up mostly just walking around squinting a lot or with my eyes entirely closed. So in practice, it didn't actually have the effect that I was looking for. And I have an eye tracking headset on the way, so the whole thing is going to be pretty much a moot point once that comes in. So I'll remove it at that point. But I did want to kind of point out just as another thing that I was working on that ended up not working out. I'm going to switch over to the scene here just so that I can show off a few things. So I do have under my tail control, I've got a subdued option to be able to switch back and forth between those two different parameters. I am currently cheating. I have the device connected tag shown, even though I don't actually have my device connected, just so you can see what this looks like. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of wiggle some parameters here so you can see how it goes. So I have the relax left for one direction or the other, so that brings it over. I have a relaxed right, which brings it over the other direction. And then, of course, if I bring both of them to not relaxed, the tail goes up. And if I bring both of them down, the tail goes down. The other option I have here, and I'm just going to center these, is ears. So if I show off what the, nope, wrong button. There we go. So there's the ear animation. You can see that it's from fully focused. There's a very slight twist, and then it moves back. That gives two things. One, it gives a little bit of a speed ramp to the actual animation. It also makes it so that the more focused side of the parameter is a little less twitchy. It also just looks more natural to turn your ear before you flip it down like that. If I were to switch over to the tail subdued tag, which actually I'm going to do properly through the controller here. So doing this, the tail goes down. Now my relaxed left and right parameters are a lot more subdued, and if you notice I keep the tail low, this just kind of makes it so that I'm a lot less of a menace in crowds. I have a very long tail with a very large brush, and I tend to thump people in the face a lot if I'm not paying attention, so in crowds or in classes I tend to keep it pretty subdued. I'll show off this as well. If the headset disconnects, everything just goes back to a centered state, and it starts running that little ear twitch animation. You can see the ear kind of wiggle there. So that is pretty much the basics of how I have it all set up. I'm always open for any kind of criticism or questions, so if you have any, definitely hit me up. Otherwise, I'll see you online.